All right, Pat, are you about ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let it rip.
Okay. Welcome back to Georgia Peachcast, coming to you from Cherokee County, Georgia. This is Pat.
And this is Greg.
Okay. We have our guest tonight, Jason Tanner for State House District 20. And we'll talk to him in a minute. I got a couple of announcements I want to make sure I sneak in there. Early voting for some of the candidates and the primaries starts April 27th. Voting is May 19th. Last night our guest was Anthony Argus, and he was from District 21. Just the note was that he's got on his website, I don't know about you, Jason, but he's got all of the maps for the. You got it on yours too?
No, I think the idea is I think Cherokee County Dems is going to put out that same thing on their website for everyone.
Well, in the meantime, if you want to know where you are or what the district is or where it goes, on his website, on Anthony's, is People Power Over Politics. So that's his website. You'll want to get into, listen to him from last night. That'll be available by the time this one's available tomorrow sometime. Again, if you live in Cherokee County and you want to hear the candidates talk, we've already had 3 of the candidates for the Democratic Party for Cherokee County. Last night was Anthony, that's number 4. Tonight is Jason he'll be the 5th one. And we will try our best to have most anybody that you can vote for in Cherokee County on the podcast so you can listen to them on a one-to-one basis. It's tough to get all of the meetings and town halls get to yourself, but by us having them on the podcast, you can get them at your own leisure in between your own schedule.
And you get to hear their own voices.
And they get to hear their own voices.
Instead of, engaging the AI on their website.
And last but not least, again, the podcast is Georgia with a space between it, Peachcast. Georgia spelled out, just a blank space, and then Peachcast, all one. If you want to get help, get more people, neighbors and friends and family to sign on, both to add to the number of people that are listening and for the sake of spreading the word to the rest of the people in Cherokee County.
Yeah, if you're on YouTube, it's just at Georgia Peachcast, no spaces.
YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, and you can also find us on Spotify.
We keep wanting to get on some others, and sooner or later we'll add it to some other streamings.
Yep, and if you like what you hear, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And we're trying to post at least 1 a week, if not 2. This week's 2. So
if you want to throw a comment on, we'll make sure we will review those and listen to them and make any comments that necessary as to those comments that you might make.
Exactly. Yep. Leave us some comments.
Okay, enough of the public service announcements. Jason?
Well, and private ones.
What?
We had a couple of private ones in there, too.
Okay, Jason, go to it.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate getting a chance to speak to you, and hopefully the listeners get a chance to hear my, I don't want to call it spiel, but get to know me a little bit and understand why I'm running and why I think that this district needs a change. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. Just to start off with, I was born in Catoosa County, way far up in the northwest part of Georgia. It was the last exit going out of Georgia as you go toward Chattanooga. So that's where I was born and lived there until I was 18. And then I graduated high school on Friday, and then was at Parris Island Sunday morning. So I enlisted right out of high school, and was off I went. I went to, it was funny, they had asked me, do you want to be in the band? Because I was in the band, and I said, if I'm going to be a Marine, I don't want to be in the band. So I ended up doing some really interesting security forces type work, and was in Washington, D.C. when they called and said, hey, you applied for this scholarship right before you left, and you're going to get it. It was a military scholarship. So,
okay, great.
And there would have been no way I would have ever been able to go to college. My mom worked at what was the time Central Soya, and became ConAgra, which
Right.
is a chicken
Okay.
plant in
Yeah.
Chattanooga. And then my dad drove a truck for overnight until he had a heart attack and medically retired, and then played bluegrass for the rest of his life until he passed away. So we were to say things were meager. We were just a working class family.
Yeah.
And school was not necessarily, college was something that wasn't necessarily in the mix. So I was really proud to accept that scholarship. It was a military scholarship. So when I graduated 4 years later from University of South Carolina, I was commissioned and went back into the Marine Corps as a communications officer, and promptly moved out to the West Coast after all my time in Quantico. Deployed twice. Once was a MEU, the Marine Expeditionary Unit. Those are the ships that are out all the time, 6-month deployment. And then right before we deployed, 9/11 happened. So there was a lot of activity in the Middle East. We were prepping that area for the invasion, etc. And we came back to California, and then we loaded up our stuff and flew back in. And I arrived 2 days before we invaded Iraq, was there for several months. And then we came back, and then I was promoted to captain in Iraq. Then I came back, went to 29 Palms, and was working at the comm school for several years. And then it's funny, I was turning 30, and I thought, my God, I'm going to be too old to get. Do I stay in and then be too old when I get out to find a real job, or do I get out and do something else? So I landed in the Secret Service. The Secret Service had a really cool program called the Electronic Crimes Task Force. And that's what I was a communications officer, so I was really drawn to that.
That's a good fit.
Yeah, I was really drawn to that. And then once I got on with the service, you do your security stuff concurrent as you do your investigative work.
Right.
So on the security side, man, that was fun. I got to work during the Obama campaign season, where he was running against John McCain, and that whole primary season, the whole campaign season there. Met the McCains, met Bushes, met the Clintons, met Obama and his family. And it's interesting now being kind of on the other side of things and seeing how that the whole dynamic has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. But on the investigative side, I was doing forensics investigations at the office, and I also did forensics at the Alameda County Crime Lab,
And when you say forensics, you mean like
digital
forensics. Like cyber forensics?
Yes, right. So think of phones, laptops, things like that. When you see on CSI and they snatch up all the devices, they send it to the lab. That's what I was doing. Okay. And I really caught the bug for it. I really liked it. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to do this forever.
Right.
And it was really kind of kismet, because I was living in Silicon Valley and I was working there, and went to work some various agencies that did forensics, and you work your way around, working at Yahoo, at Oracle, working at Google, Microsoft. So that has been my career up until 2021. So I left the service, Secret Service, in 2010? Was it 2010? Something like that. Yeah. Then I went, and since that time, I've been working in the digital forensics field. Right. And right now, a few years ago, I got contacted to work at an amazing firm that was just starting up called the Social Media Victims Law Center. Mm-hmm. And I was employee number 7 of this firm. A really small firm. And their whole mission in life was to try and hold big tech accountable for the harms that social media does to children. Yeah.
Right? And that's real. A lot of people will poo-poo that, but that's not a far left problem or smokescreen for what the challenges kids are facing.
It's a human problem, not a red problem, not a blue problem. Yeah. And it doesn't care what religion you are, or how much money you make,
or how old you are.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and we have been extremely fortunate, a lot of hard work over the matter of years to finally have some win, like massive wins. Like things are changing. Mm-hmm. There was attorney generals in 38 states are bringing it to social media. Yeah. There was a decision in our case Monday which both Meta and YouTube were found guilty,
right?
And there are over 1,600 cases waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
So
I was very excited.
Yeah.
And I'm not so much excited. I was very happy to see that progress.
Right.
When that came out the other day on the news, I was just like, okay,
finally,
gosh, thank God the train is running.
Yeah, finally. Because as much as we've determined that the companies aren't going to monitor themselves. Right?
What? No, come on. The big corporation's not going to self-monitor.
Right.
Get out of here. They did it great in the George Bush era. That's what the oil companies were encouraged to do.
Right. So the problem is that they knew this was addictive. They knew it was harmful. They kind of pushed that aside because it's all about engagement. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of the work.
More engagement means more ads. More ads means more money.
Right. And the problem is when we start talking about kids, that's a big issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, this is the most proud work I've done in my life.
No, thank you so much for that, because we need people like you, in those trenches, fighting those fights for sure.
It's
because kids can't fight for themselves. They've got to have someone to fight for them, and parents are lost.
Yeah. And that's the hard part, right? The most frustrating part. And not to, I love this topic and talk about it just by itself all night. Parents often get the blame, and I tell people who are quick to say, well, hold the parents accountable too. And I was like, you don't understand.
Yeah. You
don't understand what you're up against as a parent, right? You're dealing with teams of experts that their whole purpose in life is to figure out a way to make that.
With degrees in psychology and economics and business and...
So it's it is really something I'm proud of, and and we're going to keep that fight going, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing in that fight is something we're going to see in many different challenges that are being faced, and figuring out ways to hold corporate America accountable, but not just that, the federal government accountable. I think states are taking the lead on that.
And we've gotten a lot of support from both sides of the aisle in Congress, which is my enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing.
Right.
And because again, it is not about red or blue; it's about kids.
Yeah. It's about Americans.
Yeah.
It's a
human need, not a.
It's about people. That this is the basic idea: is we should all be fighting for those who can't fight for themselves.
Right.
And kids can't fight for themselves, and parents got so much going on. They can't be, armchair psychologists. They're just trying to
make ends meet.
The best for their kids that they can.
Yeah, if you're working two jobs like my parents did,
mine too.
We didn't have the internet. We came home and
we had the electronic babysitter.
Yes, you turn on the TV.
3 stations.
And that was it.
So ABC, CBS, and NBC, and that was it.
You just watch cartoons till the parent comes home.
And if I was lucky, I could catch Hogan's Heroes.
So and nowadays it turns into a device where it's like, hey, I've got to work.
Yeah.
One or both parents are out of the home. You've got to figure out something, and it was quick to give devices. All the kids want them. So and now we're dealing with the outcome of that, which has been very, very, as we all know now, coming to light, that it's been very, very problematic.
Oh yeah, and it's across generations.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're really concerned about the kids, but I see it in my friends. I have to self-monitor.
Absolutely, me too.
When I go to a restaurant, I just put my phone away. It's like, I'm not here to look at my phone. I'm here to have a good time with my friends or family or whatever.
And my wife gets on to me about the same thing. And then I'm in the space fighting it. But at the same time, like, oh, where's my phone? I've got to find my phone.
Yeah.
So that's a huge, huge part of what I'm running for. And I hope to take that fight to the state capitol. And I know... the reality is like 95% of Georgia teens are on social media.
Yeah.
And it's been a 52% increase in depression since 2020. I mean, this is not something
there's
I'm making
so much
up.
Data.
You just go look it up. I mean, this is not something that is made up and the parents need to just step in and take the phone away. I'm like, tragic situations happen.
Well, and that's why Georgia. The Georgia legislature has banned phones in elementary
I'm
school.
a huge supporter of that.
Yeah.
You got Senate Bill 488, which holds tech companies liable. That's going through the process. For AI, we brought several lawsuits against AI, character AI is specifically, and we're talking about kids that are not just dealing with problems. We're talking kids that are no longer here.
Yeah.
Just through online AI relationships, and AI is not going to go away.
We
talked
have to figure out a way to the genie's out. Pandora's box is open.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to figure out, and this is something that comes up in many of our podcasts. It's any new technology is always a double-edged sword, and so there's great promise for AI when it comes to like medical research and robotics in surgeries and in scientific research, to actually analyze large sets of data. You got to have AI for that.
Yeah.
The human brain can't do that.
It's definitely not going away, and it's going to get worse. And I said it again last night, and I'm repeating myself. I really feel, at my age, I feel sorry for the rest of you guys. Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what I said last night.
No matter what happens, okay, it's going to get so much worse. And even if I make it around another 10 years, I can't imagine what it's going to be like after that.
Take comfort in knowing Plato said the same thing.
So
So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. So my number one issue, and I know we skipped around. Why are you running? But we'll get there. Safety by design has to be something that we take very seriously. And that is one of my number one things I'm going to fight for. Hopefully, I get a chance to really make my voice heard as an advocate for safety by design. We have got to do that.
So to explain what you mean by safety by design, because that's not a phrase I've heard before.
Safety by design. So you can design a tool, think of a car, right?
Right.
Think of a car. Back in the old days, seat belts were...
Didn't exist.
They didn't exist, right?
Yeah, my brother went from the Army base in El Paso to upstate New York, where we grew up, in a fruit box in the back seat. That was it.
Yeah, and growing up the same way. My parents drove a van. I was not strapped in. Yeah. I was usually in the back sleeping, or sometimes when I was a kid, was in the little between the two chairs in the little cabin there. Yeah. If we had a wreck, that'd have been that.
Yeah.
So safety by design, right? So you design
sense.
Safety into as a permanent feature of the product.
Right.
So you have age verification, you have time limits, you have a way to monitor what happens, and this is not invasive. This is a parent's right. Right.
Exactly.
You wouldn't want I'm a parent of 4. I want to make sure that I can trust what's happening.
Right.
And that's obviously not been the case.
Yeah.
And it's easy to implement.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah.
The other.
And it's still part of the device that has to be enabled by parents, right?
I'd say by design.
And then
you get by design. I'm going to create this product, and it's going to be safe.
Yep.
Here's why it's
out of
safe.
the box.
And then if you want extra
Right.
features, you have that option.
Right.
But I think that's got to be job one.
Okay.
You know. The other one is, I think it's still going through the mix, is Senate Bill 351, again limiting device use in the classroom. I really don't understand. Like, my kids bring home, they don't have textbooks anymore. I don't understand.
No, they don't. And I'm a professional educator, recently retired, so I can explain this to you.
Okay, please.
Money.
Yeah.
Okay. Textbooks are amazingly expensive. Literally million. If you want a new science high school textbook adoption that year, that's $1 million. Like, it's crazy expensive. Textbooks are.
Okay.
And so digital textbooks have some very good advantages, and one of them is they're easy to update with new information. Mm-hmm. So especially take a science textbook, is as recent advances become part of our daily lives, you can do fast revisions. Okay. So that's one of the reasons, or two of the reasons. But on the other hand, I have always had students that just didn't like digital textbooks. Like, they want to hold a real book in their hand and read it, because that's how they learn best. Yeah. And so it's a challenge, because money is always a concern in education, especially for the last 20 years that I've been here. When I first started here in Cherokee County, money was not an issue. we had the SPLOST test, and Petrozello was in charge, and man, technology was, it was very, very strong push, and we were building new schools, and but that was mostly coming from Cherokee County residents through the SPLOST. The state, especially after 2008, it took them forever as the economy recovered to reestablish full funding for schools.
No, I don't think So my understanding is that is still not the case. Like the funding is short.
The last I heard, because of the budget surplus from last year or the year before, they finally were at the same level that at the legal level they should have been.
Good. Okay.
But it fluctuates.
Yeah.
Residents in Georgia got to decide: do they want to have the best quality schools possible or not?
Right.
And traditionally they haven't.
Yeah.
And that's why we consistently rank in the bottom, 20% of the nation. But the digital side of it is, as an educator, I leaned on phones because we didn't have one-to-one computers in the classroom.
Sure.
So as we were rolling out digital textbooks, we weren't, we weren't supplying the technology that students needed, especially our poorer students or less advantaged students, to be able to actually utilize that textbook at home.
Right.
Unless they use their phone.
Right.
And so I managed phones very tightly in my room.
Sure.
But they were a stopgap or they were a support tool for my high school students. Now in elementary school, you can't do that.
No, yeah.
Trustworthy students will self-monitor. They will follow the guidelines of the teacher as long as they respect them.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, that's fine.
The other thing that I have noticed in my work is that when a device is given to a student, wonderful idea. I understand. I'm talking about a personal device. I'm going to be on Discord.
Oh no, and that's I had them use their own phones.
Okay.
And because I only had half a classroom full of computers.
Yeah.
And their phone could launch the space shuttle. I mean, it is a computer. So the challenge is you have to be wandering around the classroom making sure they're doing what they should be doing.
Right. And what happens when they take the device home?
Their own device?
So we've encountered, in my work I see it all the time where the kid was given a Chromebook or had a personal device.
Yeah.
While I'm at school, the network had security features that allowed
so Cherokee
stuff.
I think only one school tried that.
Okay.
And they gave up on it. So now the one-to-one situation is there's enough computers in each classroom for each student to have one while they're in that classroom, and they stay in that classroom. Okay. When they leave the school, they're on their own.
Okay.
So because that was one of the ways that many districts tried to do one-to-one, in digital books. But now everything is in the student portal, which we use Canvas, and the digital textbook is in there, so they can access it from anywhere.
Right. Thank you for that. That's informative because I have to pull back on my passion for how much I hate social media and hate these features that we have to use.
Yeah. And that's one of the when you look at the problem with the computers is that they cycle really fast, as you know. That in 3 years you're replacing them.
That's by design.
Well, that is a good point. We could make them a lot more bulletproof and a lot more long lasting. Yeah. And given the cost, it's a market thing, right?
Yeah.
If the state of Georgia said, okay, we have this contract for all the schools in the state of Georgia, someone's going to fulfill that contract. And if they do it right, like the way maybe Germany would, not highly favorable to the company, but highly favorable to build a device that would be bulletproof, that would last for 10 years. I agree with you. I think that's because you're not asking it to do much.
No.
You're not asking it to, design a working fusion reactor.
But I do also feel like with classes like when you're getting some heavy duty AutoCAD and things that are highly technical, you're going to be using that every day when you get to college.
That's where I think you stage it.
Yeah.
In elementary school, the computers are this powerful.
Right.
Middle school, they're this powerful. Yeah. You get to high school, those computers should be able to handle anything the student throws at it.
I mean, I know we're talking about apples and oranges, but I really feel like at a certain level, and I've told my own kids this, I'm like, wait. Just hold off as long as you can.
Yeah.
Because and parents, I tell them the same thing. Once you give them that device,
Pandora's
that's
box.
it. That is it.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard.
It's hard to lock those down.
Yeah.
To prevent kids from seeing things they shouldn't be seeing at their age.
Right.
And kids will hear from other kids how to get around it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, I didn't know my son was basically, somehow he got my password to the network, and he was on that thing all night long.
Yeah.
And I caught him because I monitor my network, but most parents don't. So you bring up some really good points, and that's why we need teams of parents, teachers, and computer professionals that are working together to come up with laws and regulations and procedures. Because that part of the safety by design isn't just hardware.
Right.
It's systems.
Right.
And part of those systems is procedures that are put in place that make sense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And are easy to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Okay.
That's a bad subject for him.
And
he got in my passion area.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
that we talked about this a little bit. The other thing is that I'm public school educated in North Georgia. My kids are in the Etowah school system. We moved here specifically because of the Cherokee County school system, right? And so, I cannot. It makes me very angry about vouchers and school choice. Like, I get it. I understand that for whatever reason, and we could again talk about this all night. Like, public money should support public schools, right? If you want to, if you make enough money to send your kid to private school, then more power to you. But I would say that as long as that public school is put through the same rigor that our private schools and public schools are held to the same standards, okay, great. But you should not cut funding for public schools, because a lot of people don't make that kind of money.
Yeah.
Then you've got to have an option. Some people don't have what's called school, quote unquote, choice.
Yeah.
They've got to go to public school.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've got to make that as best as good as we can.
Right. And I'm sorry, that's an attack on our democracy.
It really is.
If you are fighting to underfund, because if you're fighting for vouchers, you're fighting to take money away from schools.
Yeah.
You're fighting to literally rob from the poor and give to the rich.
It's the starve and blame.
The choices are not there for a lot of people.
Not at all.
The one that it kills me that nobody brings it up. Okay, you get a voucher to go to a private school. Okay, you got two parents that are working, and those children don't get school buses.
Right.
So how do they get to school? Parents have to start taking them to school and picking them up.
Yes.
Okay, and that's not so. How many people can do?
Right.
A lot of families don't have two cars, and yet they got to work.
Right.
Right.
And then here's what I've always, the conspiracy theorist in me has always felt. Not only and I see it, is that everything's going to move to privatization. Post office, FedEx.
That's a recipe for
schools,
disaster.
Prisons, airports.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. It's coming. Security at the
Oh
airports.
yeah.
And honestly, the airlines should be fighting that tooth and nail, because
but anyway,
that's going to become wickedly expensive to fly, not because of the airplane, but because of the airport.
Right.
So, in the case of schools, the money's got to come from somewhere to pay for those vouchers.
It comes from our property tax.
And, the way they design it, it doesn't. It comes, so they're saying, it's not being taken out of the state out of the school funding. That's coming from somewhere. And that means that public schools are not getting that money from somewhere. Because they're not going to cut another program that somebody wants to have in place. Yeah. They're going to figure out a way to take that money out of school funding. That's my big issue with it, is we should have schools that are damn near palaces.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
If we were doing it right. Yeah. We wouldn't have a need for private education.
Right.
Because the schools are funded equally, and they have the best people in those classrooms to help those students become all they can be.
Right.
And so,
It's definitely an issue, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're all agreeing that right now that doesn't make any sense. That vouchers are something that's going to detract from the public education.
That voucher allows that wealthier family to put money into something else, like I don't know,
But if you're poor, and you do,
You know?
if you're a working class family and you're like, you want the best, I'm going to do whatever I can to get that voucher. That only gets me a third of the way there. Where's the rest of that money?
You still got to get your kid to the school.
Exactly. And then I cannot stand. I see it all the time. I call it starve and blame, where we're going to chip away at funding at public schools, chip away.
And public programs in general.
And then all of a sudden, well, look how bad our schools are.
Yeah.
We've got to do something
by the way,
different.
homeless rates are going up.
Yeah,
because kids, if you have, the research is really clear. If you have high quality public schools in your neighborhoods, you have less crime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a direct relationship.
It goes down, runs up and down the whole spectrum of life.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
Kids
it.
that have hope and education figure out a way to not find themselves on the street.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big advocate of that, as are most of my colleagues. I'm like, if you have, I don't want to be derogatory and stuff, like it's a common sense thing. If you're a parent, your money, you should want the best public education system that you have.
Mm-hmm.
That should be something that Cherokee County is proud of.
Yeah.
I know that my property taxes pay into that system.
Yes.
Heavily.
Yeah.
And that
I paid for it for 30 years.
Yeah.
On my
So
mortgage.
it is something that we all benefit
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Right. And so the idea of chipping away at it little by little over time, 20 years, 30 years, and saying, oh, look how bad our public school systems are. Well, what do you expect to happen if you take away funding every year?
Yeah.
Teachers are going to be mad. Teachers are going to leave.
Funding should be going up, matching inflation every year.
I agree.
Just like our other public programs.
Right.
So
again, it's common sense.
It really is a common sense argument, and when you explain it to people logically and help them understand that there are direct connections to funding those kind of programs,
right?
That then prevent the things that people blame communities for, like homelessness and things like that. So,
and it's, I'm a homeowner, and the whole push to get rid of top property taxes. I'm like, hey, do you know where that money goes to? I would love not to pay property taxes.
Well, in the state, and now the gubernatorial candidate is saying, I want to get rid of state taxes.
What?
Yeah.
What do people think?
People don't
how do people think we're going to pay for things in this state if we don't pay state taxes?
I know. They don't. Somehow or another, they don't seem to understand.
If
you take you stop taking taxes from one area, it's going to come up in another area.
Yeah, we're going to have county
the money
taxes
to run the state, run the schools, run everything else is got to come out of the people's pockets. Yeah. I'm afraid that sales taxes, increasing sales taxes, taking away, property taxes or reducing property taxes, but adding it on to sales taxes. Again, it's the poor, the low end that get hurt.
Always.
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
As a proportion of their income, they get hurt a lot more.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because that's it.
Because they have to feed and clothe themselves.
Right.
So
a sales tax, the person making $500,000 a year is still going to go out and buy a shirt, and the shirt's going to have an extra 1% on it because they need it. He's not going to. He or she's not going to care about it.
Yeah.
You get somebody that's making $50,000 and you add another 1% on and got to buy the same shirt because they got to go to work. Okay. All of a sudden, that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Okay. So we did schools and taxes. We pretty much have turned those things into compost and fossils at this point. So what's your other thing?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is really making sure that there needs to be a medical safety net. Right, whether it's expanding, and I'm not smart enough to figure out. They do have teams of experts to figure this out. Yeah. All I know is that my insurance has gone up. Thank God I have employer-paid insurance, because if I didn't, we didn't for a while, and that was terrible.
Yeah,
we are all one accident, one illness away from financial
ruin,
disaster.
Yeah, medical bankruptcy,
and medical bankruptcy.
Yeah.
At the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
We've got to fix that. And when I go back and forth and I got to figure out what the right answer is, whether it's Medicaid for all, whether it's universal health care, or if it's something like the British have, where you pay a little bit more, everybody gets base level of care. If you want to have extra, you pay for extra.
Yeah, that's an excellent model.
Right. And I'm like, that works. I mean, I had an old boss that worked, he was a UK citizen. He came over on a business trip to the United States, broke a tooth. Right. And he's like, oh, I got to go get this fixed. And I said, what are you going to do with your dentist? He's like, oh, no problem. My insurance works here. I pay a little bit extra, and it's covered. I don't really pay anything more than I pay anywhere else. I was like, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
But I can't fathom that. That doesn't make sense to a normal American. Right?
Well, I have a person in my subdivision. I live in Farmington, right down the road.
Okay.
And her husband sadly has, a stage 4 cancer. Mm-hmm. And wonderful couple, really nice people. And he was like, he went into remission, which was fantastic. But then he started noticing that it was coming back, and he said to his oncologist, "Well, my 75th birthday's next week, and I promised myself I would go to Sicily, where my roots are from, before I die." And his oncologist was like, "We'll get you there," and they did. They went, right? So he's a retired educator, and so he's got the state health benefit plan, but they go over there. And he has some complications, and they're in Sicily, and they're like, "Well, we can't really get you to a specialist, but how about we have the doctor come to you?" And so they came to his hotel, treated him right there, diagnosed him. He needed 3 medications, and his wife is sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, it's a doctor's visit in our hotel, and it's 3 medications that are cancer medications, which are super expensive." And she said, "You're not going to believe this. The whole visit was like $150. That was it.
Yeah.
Everything else was covered." And I was like, "Welcome to European medicine."
We're so far behind on.
And so you are exactly right.
Yeah. And I've told my kids this because we're watching TV and you see 17 different commercials for 17 different prescription medications on TV. And I said, "You know that the United States is like the only country that this is allowed?
Yeah.
You can promote medicine on TV like this?" There's like, "What?" And they're like, it's not allowed anywhere else. Yeah. Because we're a for-profit medical system.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And I think that's terrible. And people, opponents of this would be like, "Oh, my tax dollars, I shouldn't be supporting someone who just walks in the emergency room to fix."
That's compassionate conservatism. Did you forget that?
I was like, you wouldn't have to do that if we had everybody paying in a little bit. Then you wouldn't have hospital costs go skyrocketing because somebody's paying for that.
Exactly.
Right.
It really is. There's a level of selfishness that lack is of in our society.
Yeah.
Lack of empathy.
Yeah.
A lack of. I grew up
understanding about it. And Jason, when I mentioned this the other time that we had somebody had. Do you know that up until 1974, health insurance had to be a nonprofit company?
It was a law.
Go in 1974. Congress somehow or another changed that so that now health insurance companies can make a profit. For profit.
Yeah.
Before 1974. So how come we were surviving before 1974 without corporations making profit off of your health and my health?
Billions of dollars for profit.
Double check me on that, but
I want to figure that out. Why? That's interesting. I got it. Thank you. 1974.
1974.
But healthcare is the big thing. It's like
the other thing. My other number that I do, Jason, is okay. People have always talked about healthcare in Canada. They don't talk about Europe because a lot of people don't know about Europe, but they think about Canada or they know people in Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got the social up there, all right, and they talk about the long waits that they've got. In some cases for major surgery. But if you look at the numbers, the total amount of money that we pay per capita, regardless of whether it's insurance, out of your pocket, corporations, whatever it is is that same amount of money could be used to have universal health care, okay, and probably do a better job of, in fact, probably have enough so that we wouldn't have as much wait listed to get onto a major surgery that you have to have. It balances out. Ours is all going into, as I say, combination of profits and so on and so forth. But basically, if we had it across the board, the total amount that we're spending now, whether it's, as I say, whether it's insurance, out of pocket, coming in from the government, per capita, okay, per person in the United States, it could be universal, and you wouldn't have any of the problems.
No, I agree. Like, there's got to be a way to figure this out. And the only way that it's not is because there's no money in keeping people healthy.
Well, and there's been this mantra that's been drilled into us through decades of claiming that our system was superior. We don't have to stare at our navels and come up with the best system in the world.
Right.
All we have to do is look at other countries that are making it work.
Right.
We don't, I mean, when you look at the EU, it's like France has a great system.
Yeah.
So does England.
Yeah.
So does Germany.
Yeah.
Take the best parts.
Right. And
make our own.
Yeah. Make it.
We don't have to
work.
reinvent the wheel to make this work.
Right. Exactly.
And
I mean, they've already done the safety by design thing that you were talking about.
Right.
They figured out the pitfalls and the quagmires, and
they
reinvent it. Figured out ways to work through those. And so
it's frustrating because I feel like as long as there's the healthcare industry is making profit and influencing our government.
Oh no, we're not going to go down that road. We're not going to go down the lobbyist road.
So the only last thing I'll talk about for medical. So my stepson broke his elbow a couple weeks ago. He was in an accident, and this ties amazingly into the cost of something that should not be this bad. And it was a bad break, granted. We took him to an emergency room, went to Northside. They did great care, but they needed to go to a pediatric unit.
Right.
They did the x-rays, did the whole thing, and it's like, it's going to be $1,000 is what you're going to have to owe us today, when you are here at the hospital. Insurance covered however X amount of it.
Right.
And then you get to the other hospital, do more x-rays, do the whole thing, and it's ungodly amount of money. And I was like, what do people do that don't have money for this?
Mm-hmm.
What do people do?
Yeah.
Pay like for the rest of their life for a medical procedure?
If they can get the hospital to write it off, they will. But that money's going to get paid by somebody.
Yeah, sure thing.
Right. The hospital's not going to take it on their line item out of their profit.
Right on.
So they're going to somehow make somebody else pay for it.
Right.
And you are so right. It is so wrong. I'm fortunate to be in a good spot financially, so I don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. But there's so many Georgians that are in our district, that are our neighbors right here, and if they got in that situation, they couldn't pay for it.
Right. And that's kind of the bottom line, and that's really where I try to focus my direction on why I want to run, who I want to run for, and who it really matters. Right. And I know we've talked about this a little bit. I don't like red versus blue. I think this is less of a red versus blue fight now. This is top versus bottom.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that we open our eyes to that, the people we're told to fight against are the very people wanting us to fight each other.
Yeah.
The real people are up here.
Yeah.
And it's all of us down here. It's not those guys over there, and it's not those people over here. It's us versus the top.
Yeah. And they want us fighting each other, because if we're busy fighting each other, we won't see what they're doing to us.
Right.
And I know that sounds trite, and it's kind of a cliche-ish, but it is very true that those wealthiest people in our nation, have somehow figured out a way to get the poorest people to fight for them.
Yeah. Right.
And against their own interests, which is the crazy part.
By making, what is it, the famous quote, and I think it was, I can't remember who it was, I wish I could remember it, but it said, if you gave a man someone to hate, they'll vote for you while losing their own soul.
That was Lyndon B. Johnson.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah, Johnson said that.
Yeah.
You know, if you give him somebody to hate, and he won't just let you pick his pocket. He'll reach in there and give you all his money.
Right. And that's where we are. I mean, we you know, the whole trans argument. I'm like, you're talking about a minuscule, fractional percentage of the population, but oh my God, we can't have that because that's.
And you know,
because they have again, because they have figured out that certain subjects, okay,
are true, yeah.
Just get into people who have no idea that it's only 100% chance that's going to ever affect them or be part of theirs. And I've even got
Oh, I don't want my tax dollars paying for their trans surgery. I'm like, you mean the 1/100th of a penny that's coming out of your pocket? If that, maybe 1/1000th. Yeah. But they get, like you said, so
they have figured it out. Yeah. They have figured out
how
those hot buttons, and then just pound away at those out. Mm-hmm. They have controlled the narrative for so long. Yeah. Which
when we talk about Fox State media now,
it keeps the rest of the conversations to get away with the red and blue.
Yeah.
Okay? They just automatically have swung one way based upon some subjects that are so minuscule that it's not going to affect any number of people, even their own situations, their own families, their own
Obama said it.
Their own communities.
Yeah.
Yet those subjects have been pounded away by the other guys, okay? And they have prevented the red and blues from starting to talk together and come together and do the compromise.
Divide and conquer.
And I really, whenever I get into a room with a mix of political views, I always like to think that, shut the door for just a little while. Don't think red and blue.
Yeah.
Think top and bottom.
Yeah. Just think. Obama said it really well in one of his earlier speeches. He said, "There's only Americans.
Yeah.
There's not black and white Americans. No. There's not red and blue Americans. No. There's just Americans."
Right. Yeah. They have done a great job. I've always given them credit for it, as much as I hate for the fact that they have done that. They've been able to do that.
Yeah. Well, let's give Jason the last word.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, and wrap things
up. That's for you to say.
And so, we've been under almost trifecta Republican rule for a long time. At the state level, at the executive level, at the local level,
and Supreme Court.
Yeah, and that's hard, right? And one of the reasons that I stepped up was I think that's a disservice to a vast amount of the electorate that wants a choice, and that if you're running unopposed, which a lot of districts were unopposed.
Yeah.
You need to have people. There are people out there, but for whatever reason, it doesn't make any sense. It's not worth it, and blah blah. But I'm like, it's a disservice to the electorate, and I think with what we've seen in the country, people are ready for a change. They're absolutely ready.
True, yeah.
Absolutely ready. I just think there's really time to get away from partisan noise and get back to what makes really good sense. And I've said this before, like my job when I get to the State House for District 20 is not to represent my voters, my friends, my people I go to church with, the people that I like. It's to represent every resident in this district. Red, blue, no matter who you voted for.
I told Barry Larimer that many times.
Yeah, it's my job. and it is not to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
So from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, they are equal in my eyes.
Yeah.
Right? So that is my job. And I would leave it with this, I've taken 3 oaths to the Constitution. Once as an enlisted Marine, once as an officer of Marines, and the other one was as a Secret Service agent. I'm ready to take that 4th one. Just give me that chance. And I think we can really do some great stuff. Really do some great things. So,
well, Jason Tanner, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and meeting you and talking with you.
Thank you.
And so I'm sure our listeners are going to appreciate
that.
We are
definitely happy to have had you and for the rest of Cherokee County to hear you, not only because of your district, okay, but again, there are so many of us that have been waiting for a choice, okay, and haven't had that choice. And finally, we've worked hard in getting people and gentlemen, guys like yourself, and I'm saying guys and girls, although we've not got enough
citizens.
We haven't got enough female citizens. I dawned on me the other day. I was talking to somebody just recently. We were talking. The other night at dinner at the after party over in Cobb County, and we were talking about how so much of the activity that's done at the lower levels has been by women. Okay, and it's a fact.
Well,
it's a fact.
Yeah, and that's great because we're all citizens.
I know, but they haven't got into the top. Mm-hmm. How many districts have we got? We had
Cherokee County. Gosh, like
six. That catch into Cherokee County, and now the one that you just mentioned, we talked about earlier. There's only one woman.
There are two women actually running that touch Cherokee County.
Oh, is there?
There are two.
Oh yes, Danielle.
Well, you've got actually there might be three. So you've got Danielle Bell, and you've got Bella Bautista, and you've got Lauren Jones. So there are quality women out there.
Okay. Is there a third one?
There absolutely are. And
bite my tongue.
And I agree. I think I think that equality needs to be there.
But they've got to run.
Yeah,
that's
they've got to step up.
They've got to step up and run. And we live in a very conservative county, and unfortunately, that's part of the conservatism. But I know, and you know too, there's lots of very capable women that are very strong people that would make great representatives
100%.
All across the state, not just in our little county.
And I think that's probably it's not only a Cherokee thing; it's probably to some degree a Georgia thing, and then some degree a South thing too.
It's an American thing too. Just look at Congress.
That's something we got to work at it.
Yeah.
So,
but
we'll hang up, and then I'll say something to Jason.
So I would, and the only thing I'll say is I want to plug my website tanner4ga.com, TANNER4FORGA.com. I would encourage everyone to go check it out. There's a lot of good information there. You can text, email, call, whatever, and I'm happy to have these conversations because I think people need to hear that you do have a choice, and just because I'm a veteran and was a federal agent, I can be patriotic too.
That's being a patriot is not wearing it on your sleeves; it's wearing it in your heart.
Exactly.
So,
no, absolutely. Okay.
All right, Jason Tanner, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, and we will have you back. We will have you back. I've been saying to with changing times, talk about anything else that's different, but if nothing else, can remind people that we have a choice.
Yeah, we could talk about the 18 million metric tons of crap that have been thrown at us in that time. So, but y'all take care. Be safe out there, and we look forward to having you listening to us next week.
Spread the word.
Bye-bye.